All right, everybody, I'm back. So, we're going to jump into things pretty quickly, but this is going to be a combined unboxing, setup, and also kind of a channel update with some preview and teasers for content that I'm going to be making soon. It's going to be definitely raw, authentic, off the cuff. Mistakes are going to happen, but it's very authentic. And I'm just so excited. I'm going to share my passion here, rubbing my hands, I guess. But let's first give a little bit of channel update. So, past 2 years, I've been working making eyeglasses, and before that, I jumped into working on bicycles. Life story, you know, kind of a career reset. But I haven't lost my passion for audio. And I really want to kind of get back into the space that I love about helping people who are hi-fi curious. So if you know anyone who's hi-fi curious, try to share this video with them. It really would help this channel get started again and get growing again. And that will be really exciting for all of us. Let's make a community. So what is my purpose again today? I'm excited. I just got contacted by Apos. No money or no money was exchanged in any way, but they asked, hey, we've got these new products, and we were kind of hoping that you could share your thoughts on them. So they provided them to me, but my opinions are going to be my own. They're not seeing this video beforehand. I'm not seeing this video beforehand, but let's check it out. So they give me like this whole stack. Look at that. Yeah. So we've got this whole stack of things, and then these two wrap dudes are from them as well. We're going to start with the unboxing, right? So I'll set this aside. Also, side note, you might notice other decorations on my table. I've also been kind of into retro handhelds lately. It's been having fun. And also taking them with me to work to kind of stave off things. If you want to see more bag reviews, I randomly put up a video of a bag I got a while ago. And if you want to see more thoughts on those, leave a comment. You know, tell me that you're into that. But first, let's go back to Apos. So we have here their kind of new audio stack. And I think this is a wonderful idea in that hi-fi curious kind of field. So it's got competition with the Shit Audio Magni and Modi. They're basically $100 each amplifiers, which probably have gone up in price. I haven't checked recently, but they've probably gone up in price over the past years or so with everything going up. What's exciting about these is this Gremlin starts at $125. Let's start getting it open. Starts at $125, but the heart of it, the tubes can be upgraded, so you can buy it for $125, and if you end up liking it, or if you're curious about rolling different tubes or trying to upgrade the sound, whether you want new flavor or better sound, changing those tubes makes a big difference. I've already learned that, and I can't wait to share that with you. But first we're going to give this a listen with these stock tubes. And this is definitely just going to be a first impressions video, because tubes, unlike solid state amps, like the typical, you know, just flip it on electric amps, they turn on and pretty quickly they're ready to go. These old-fashioned tubes are kind of like little light bulbs, if you don't know. And they take a little while to electronically warm up and stabilize, so the first 6 hours probably is going to sound lesser than new electronic transistor-based solid-state amplifiers. But after that, it clears up, kind of opens up, just really opens up. A lot of times you do get a bigger sensation of soundstage, and then greater clarity. And the Gremlin here, which I think has a really cool Stranger Things inspired font, That's fun. And there's like, you may not be able to see it, but there's like crackles and like, all right, don't wax too much about the box, but it's a fun box. Good job on graphic design. Tube amps do have, they do clarify in a way that becomes really fun. And they have a little bit of distortion, but it's harmonic, usually very enjoyable, kind of like film grain, you know? So it's for people who want to have fun with their music. And the highest end tubes can often blow solid state out of the water. Some of the best headphones and amps and stuff, you know, obviously tubes are used a lot for musicians playing on their guitar and going for special effects, but like a Telefunken or a really high-end tube can, well, for example, the Sennheiser Orpheus, $70,000. It comes in a base station with a bank of 8 tubes in it, and that's like a really good amp. And there's so many other fantastic makers that all use tubes, so it's a very high-end experience. And we're starting with a $125 experience here that maybe you could put like a $300 or $400 tube in it, a matched pair of tubes, and then your initial investment suddenly becomes a much more higher end device. So you can basically dip your feet in, see how you like it, see if it's fun for you, and then later on upgrade it without it becoming obsolete. So let's see. We've got our packaging here. I also think unboxing videos are useful for like how was something packed if you need to repack it, or if you're giving it as a gift, like how stuff is arranged. But we got first our little great sound doesn't happen in a vacuum, but great sound happens in a vacuum. Haha. So this must be a catalog of Apos's tube amps. Have you hugged your ears today? So this is a word booklet. It's just saying about how they've got quality control, 24-hour burn-in period. Oh, so they've already stabilized it. They've already burned it in. That could be exciting. There's tips about care. They're saying let it warm up for 5 minutes before each listening session. That is a bit of a difference from just flip it on in a solid state. It's kind of fun to hear how it develops though. And 5 minutes is nothing for when you get in the zone and you listen to something for hours, right? That actually is a thing I found about hi-fi, is that when it's really good, you can be so excited that you don't need music to just be a background. It can be something that excites you and is totally enough all on its own to make your evening and change your mood and do all great stuff. And that's why I'm not big on the EQ train. I've measured headphones. I know all the squiggles on the graphs. I don't know everything, but I know enough to get in trouble, and I also know how easy it is. A slight shift in position or a slight other change will make those graphs change so much that you can't take them as absolute solid fact, because how your ears are shaped and how things go. Just do it for fun. And that's what this channel is going to be about, doing it for fun. So they're saying just plug the tubes in and leave the amplifier on. No need to play music during burn-in. You can just turn it on. Yeah. So great. They have nice tips on people who are new to tubes on how to do it, and they specify a 1-year warranty against manufacturing defects. Good to know. Rather than just buying some random 1970s tube on the internet with no warranty. I've experienced buying a really nice Bugle Boy that people say is awesome, and I could not get over how it was constantly ringing because it had really bad microphonics. These are going to be new, tested, and not a kind of a mix of like, are you going to get a good thing or not? And then here is a themed prologue, right? Oh man, so they had some fun with the graphic design here. So I'll give you a quick look at it. You can pause if you want to read it, but the most of it, I'm gonna let you see the insides if you get your own. But it looks like fun flavor text plus which tubes it's compatible with and portals of egress. So they had some fun with the wording on there, but they're saying the portals of ingress are balanced XLR headphone jack and a 4.4 millimeter balanced headphone jack. So it looks like this is a balanced only amp. Okay, that's fine. Word tubes. Behold, gentlemen! We've got some foam here, keeping it safe. That's not beautiful. We don't need to keep that in camera view. And this is a very scrappy, kind of do-it-yourself looking tube. Let's put this down so you can see my face and see the background. And I'll get to this next. Amps make a fairly big difference to the sound and can be a lot of fun. I don't want to get too many fingerprints on it. Oh, that's cool. I'll let you have a closer look at it from 4 sides. Yeah. So, obviously no moving parts. Don't stick your hand in there. This is called the Gremlin, you know. Don't give it water. Don't put your hand in its mouth. Don't put your hand in its mouth and touch these things. And don't feed it after midnight, but you may listen to it after midnight. So these tubes are 12 AU7 tubes. That is a fairly common type. You might even, if you are a musician, you might use some of them in your guitar stuff. It says it's compatible with 12 AU7 or 6922 tubes. When you search online, you'll get a ton of things. There's even some Russian variants that are equivalent and can be slotted in. But it's one of the most common popular tube types, and it's not too huge. I'm hoping it doesn't make too much heat because we're about to get into summer here. That is cool. Let's look at that. Next up, there's actually like 2 little holes. I don't know if you could see, but to help you get your fingers in and grab it. That's cool. This is going to be our power and everything. So attributes of the beast right there if you need to see it. Is there a serial number on here? That'd be fun. No. We've got Forever Analog, Zeus Pantera, and Passion for Sound, Howard Lackland. All have weighed in on this. I'm glad that I get a chance to hear it for myself. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug it in and let it start warming up because it might take me more than 5 minutes to open the next product too, so why not? This might be best open from the side. Okay. New Gear Day. Keep it together, keep it together. So it comes in 2 pieces with a transformer that hopefully sits on the floor. So if you've ever wondered what this box is on some electronics like laptops and things, that's a transformer. You may have already known that, of course. length of it, I'd say about a meter. So if I hold this and from my table, does it reach the floor? Yes. I think for most people, you will be able to leave the transformer brick on the floor and have it go up onto most desks. That is an issue I have with my studio lights, is the cord is 2 meters, but I wish it was a little bit more so that I didn't have to feel like I had this heavy box weighing down the jack on the light. But yeah, this is the Apos Gremlin. And if you haven't yet, please take a chance to hit the like button. I hear it's still free, but to grow this channel, that will be extremely helpful. If I can get to 1,000 subscribers, that will make this actually like a going concern that maybe we'll do this a lot more together, and I'll be doing practice and uploading as much stuff as I can in the meanwhile so that I can get good sun. The input on the back is a 3.5 millimeter jack, interestingly enough. Or is it a 4.4 millimeter? That's what this directions is going to help. The inputs are also 4.4 balanced. Okay. Be gentle when connecting and disconnecting the cords. The input and output ports are delicate and directly attached to the device's internal components. Handle them with care. I do think you're going to plug it in once and probably leave it, but that's good. I may run and grab a cable in a minute. So I'm going to plug that in, and we'll go ahead and grab the cable now. No. So I'm going to start warming it up. Oh, that's fun. Okay. You might have noticed it started glowing. So the tubes do have a faint glow of their own, but Apos actually put LEDs in it, so you've got like this kind of like lantern glow, and that's fun. Like later on, like if I turn off all the lights later, but that should be really cool late at night. It's time to warm up and have some tubey fun. Okay, so that is going to start warming up. I'll put it over here. You get the message of this. So we'll have this over here. And then Apos also sent me this thing. It's the stacker for the Gremlin and Merlin. Merlin is kind of like the equivalent to the i-Fi Air DAC, Zen DAC, where it's just the DAC. This is a simple thing. They've released apparently the 3D printed design files for this. So if you have a 3D printer and you want to make something taller, shorter, funnier, your own favorite color, your own name on it, one of one bespoke design, go for it. I like that since I don't have a printer, I can just get it. Yeah. But essentially, it's just like a little frame, little stacker, frosted, that it sits nicely into. Very nice. Then, pieces. We have of similar construction, the Druid. So the Druid is kind of like the Merlin, right? But Druid's a little bit wider. So we have an XLR out and a 3.5 millimeter line out. So that's going to be a little bit challenging because, well, it says I'm going to need XLR cables. Let's see what's inside. So this is the Druid, and it is, let's have a closer look at the design on the front. I'll do a little turn so maybe it shows up in the light. Let's get the plastic off of this guy. This is a customized Ganzo. I do have, and I do like, Spyderco knives. But they've just like quadrupled in price. I don't know what's up with that. So I wonder what solution they're gonna have. Plastic. It's kind of like louder plastic than usual. It's a little bit stiffer than like the shrink wrap that you normally would see. Kind of interesting. But the Druid is special because it is a DAC, but it is a resistor to resistor multi-bit DAC, right? So your standard DAC, like what you would see in a Audio Modi or like a Fio or a iPod or other music player, my Chord Mojo, those all have Sigma Delta DACs, and they work with like processing 1 bit at a time, very fast. This is a ladder of resistors, sometimes called a ladder DAC, sometimes resistor to resistor, R to R. But it's kind of like a 1990s old way of doing things, and you have to have more precisely matched components to have good sound. Alright, so in this we also have a prologue of its own. Let's read this one off. I love the large font E. I forget what those are called. I used to know, but they're really cool. It says, prologue, return to the old ways. Ere word was given breath, ere meaning took form, there was but tone, a soundless murmur that quickened the void and set the heavens turning. From that boundless note came light and wind, and the slow pulse of the sea, and all the world was tuned to its measure. But the ages have passed, the forests have thinned, the stars have grown distant, and men have forgotten the pitch of creation. All but the Druid. That's pretty fun. I mean, I listen to music for fun. I'm not producing things. I don't take it too seriously, but I like when I'm having fun, and that was fun. And then we have a similar kind of do-it-yourself aesthetic here. I can see the cutout for the knob already in this. All right. So we have on the back here a USB-C port for connecting the audio, and I've got that, and then 2 XLR cable connectors for balanced output. And then on the side we have this view. It looks like some of the resistors are a little bit bendy, right? They're not completely straight, but it's kind of fitting. It's fine. And it's obviously put together. I think the black PCB looks good. You guys have a look. I think it's kind of cool just to see the circuitry and how everything is built. Like windows on on the side of a custom built computer and stuff. But I think it's a really interesting piece. And then we have these 4 banks of lights that are labeled power, PCM, MQA, and link. So I guess this supports MQA decoding. MQA is trying to make a second comeback, second season here. Wow, there's a lot of chips going on. And this big guy here is going to be a capacitor. Should be interesting. No volume control. So the reason why you start off with your digital files in your device. Maybe you're streaming. Maybe you've backed up responsibly your CDs and collection. I have some vinyl, which I feel like the point of vinyl is not to digitize it, but most people listen through like Spotify and Tidal and such. So if you're curious about what a DAC does, DAC stands for Digital to Analog Converter. I have a whole video about all the different pieces of a setup, but this turns the digital into analog power surges that push a magnet in a headphone, but it's just one line level voltage, right? So it's kind of untreated and it's not ready for speakers or headphones. You could connect this to a speaker amp if you wanted, and that would probably sound really good. But our setup here, I'm kind of focusing on the headphones. That's fine. But one of the unfortunate parts of stacking these, I think they're going to look good together, but I'm not going to be able to see all the transistors and resistors and capacitors and parts on here. It's whatever. It's fine. I think definitely the coolest part is the tubes, and I also think they kind of go well together. All right, look at that. So there's your tower of power. With the power switches here, with the red bits. On, off. What is that? There's a red thing on the side that says on, off. I don't know if that is something that is switched or something that you can pull up. That will be fun to read in the directions and how-tos. On the back, looks like we have the power, the USB-C, the 2 XLR, 3 connectors that you'll need, a pair of one for right channel, one for left channel to go into this. That is probably their intended method of interconnection, because unfortunately this is a 3.5 millimeter size output, like your standard headphone jack, and then this is a 4.4 Pentagon balanced input. So this amp only has balanced inputs. This amp has a balanced and a single-ended output. Balanced just means basically you've got a whole amp on one side for like the right channel, and then symmetrically they have a whole nother identical arrangement of amping for the left channel. So there's less crosstalk, there's less interaction between the two channels. They can't bleed into each other. You've got more power. Generally people say single-ended is really good, and the difference between them is very, very small as far as audible quality goes, but when you're at the highest end of things, balance is just that little bit better, and you have more power for more power-hungry headphones. So that's cool. Let's check out in here the box, what else we get. So we have another grabby handle bit to make it easy to pull out, just like the Gremlin did. And our Druid comes with, set you aside, power cable, but also is there a solution for, aha! Yay! Alright, Apos, thank you for thinking it through. It looks like We have a whole kit of accessories here. I'm going to get it plugged in and warming up first thing. We have that same kind of transformer and power plug combo. Save the parts. Another video that I plan to do soon is treating the room. You may hear background noise from my fan. You may hear echoes from my sound bouncing off the walls. This is a small room. But I have some interesting ideas, and I've actually been spending since 2021 collecting eggshell crates or eggshell crate similar things. My dad even helped me out. He had a restaurant, and they saved their eggs. Oh, so I'm actually going to try to make a go of it, of kind of covering this entire room, which is going to be quite a project, with eggshell crates, and also kind of comparing other possible DIY solutions and see, does it really help with this echo? You're going to be able to hear it because I'm sure you hear the room echoing right now. Does it make enough of a difference? What about more commercial options, right? So make sure you subscribe if you want to be informed when those come up. Also, as I said, this is going to be just first impressions. I will follow up with a more, hey, I've lived with this for a while, I've warmed them up, I've figured out how to connect everything. How do I feel about the sound after it's kind of given myself some time to get to know it? First impressions are good. You can tell a lot from first impressions, but sometimes your opinions change over time. All right. We now have 2 of these guys. The intrusive thoughts. No. Okay. Start warming that up. We have another LED for power. I'll give you a view of that. So we got LEDs on. These are starting to get warm. I do recommend not touching the tubes during operation. That is important. These are, it comes standard with installed core ray tubes. So I got some ray tubes when they were just their first thing, and they were going to be upgrade tubes from the start. I think they were kind of mid-tier compared to what they have now. I'll have to find out. They're in my X-Duo TA22. But we'll come back to that because I want to do a review on that amp. Again, stay subscribed. We have here thingies worth reading instructions on. Oh, and I was excited. Okay, so this is a little pulling tweezers. I have heard that this DAC, the Druid, is capable of having its operating amps, its op amps, swapped out. So this is a tool to do that. It's kind of like plugging in a Lego or something. It's an electronic, so yeah, it's got pins, but they just go in a slot, and they're trying to make it easy. Probably wouldn't be hard for anyone who's into keyboards, you know, mechanical keyboards. This is a foam holder for, looks like 3 different riser sockets. So it came with 3 of these. I took one out. You can see it has pins and holes. So it's like a riser, I suppose, to help the op amps fit. So it is a ladder DAC, but it has op amps for the analog half of it. and changing and upgrading those can also take your initial investment, and I don't know what this one costs off the top of my head, but your initial investment, you can come back to it later, do just parts cost, assemble it yourself, and get a upgrade if you're like, hey, I want to see what the next level is. So I like this whole concept of a scrappy, somewhere between minimalist and maximalist design, because obviously minimal casework, but you see a lot of components and stuff, so that feels a little bit maximalist. I like that it's upgradable and it's kind of showing its guts and innards, but it's got a truth to it. And then finally they also included this is what I was excited about, this is a 3.5 to RCA connector. Yay, great. It's not an adapter in the box to connect to Apos's own tube amp. So I gotta figure out something to basically connect. I don't have XLR3 cables, so I have to figure out something to connect the Gremlin to the Druid. So will you. This is definitely why we look at these things, so make sure that you know what you're getting into. So now with this impressions, now you know in the box we have a couple adapters and a couple nice accessories, but you're also going to need to have an interconnect. Most of the time these components don't come with interconnect cables. You got to buy them, and I kind of have like a black and gold theme going on. I grabbed some things to try and see what I could do with it. This was an SKW, which is on AliExpress, and it's like, I don't know, $20. It's pretty inexpensive, but it looks nice, and we've got kind of like a theme going on here, right? So I can definitely test it. I just have to do something special to get the tube connected, because it's a 4.4 balanced input, and I have devices with 4.4 out. I don't have that many DACs with a 4.4 millimeter balance. So ideally I will want to get a pair of XLR3 connectors, and so would a potential owner of this system. So we're going to continue letting the tube burn in. I'm going to leave it on overnight, because why not? But I can at least give this DAC a shot. So USB-C. I'm going to want a USB-C to USB-C connector. With that, I can connect my iPad, for example. And the 3.5 millimeter out, I already have that connector to RCA, so I can connect that to another amp that I have on standby here. So little short cable. Little cables. And this is going to be an eat your heart out moment. Right here is a discontinued Cavalli liquid carbon amp. Some people were like, "Well, who's Cavalli? I don't understand. He's not a big player in the scene. He's not a smaller player in the scene. I own this forum, and I'm the president of a competing audio company, and so I say he's got bad stuff. I don't know all the politics about it, but basically he made a really good amp. This is serial number 47 from his Kickstarter, and I really liked it. I thought it was really cool, but it was a lot of work for him. He basically wanted to kind of make this as a fun thing after retiring from his main job, and do some good designs with his knowledge. And I quite like the sound. It stands up really well against, my bigger things. But in this case, it just so happens to have the connectors we need. Red and white. So I got red left. I could unwind this, I suppose. This is going to be a little bit messy, but this is just first impressions. How's my shirt? I was buying these when I was working with polish because they would splash on me and make stains, but you can't see them when you have nice patterns. Alright, so red on top. And here's another reason why it's worth it for me to get some XLR3 cables, because the back of my liquid carbon here also has a pair of balanced XLR3 connectors. And yeah, you may also notice our real giant power cord. I don't know. I won it in a competition. It's fun. Headphones, yes. We'll call it headphones. It asked if I was connecting headphones. Sure, eventually. We're just going to make it complicated. Why would you do this? Why would you get a DAC? Well, like I said, this is not just a product, but for about $100 and so, maybe 200 or 250 for the R2R DAC as a nice DAC option upgrade. This should be like an audible upgrade with richer tones and more exciting sound, but you can also upgrade it, so you could start off at a pretty modest mid-fi or entry-fi price. $125 for a desktop amp that's going to sound substantially different from a $9 Apple dongle. So I say substantially. Headphones make the biggest difference. Then the amp and quality of your music files, a really compressed MP3 is going to sound particularly bad. And then DAC is kind of the next step down in how much of a difference it makes. But this guy is enough of a leap over a $9 dongle that it should be a audible difference, and it should be something that is richer and fun. I'm going to listen in a moment. And I haven't gotten to hear this Cavalli amp in a little while, so I'm kind of excited. Let's start off with a headphone that's pretty good, with 600 ohms impedance, and not crazy, $1,000 expensive, but a little bit better than average bear, right? So this is my Sennheiser HD660S2. So it's got the kind of the bronze logo here is how you know that one. And I believe I got the right ear here. Yeah. You can tell a lot of headphones have the cable connectors angled forward a little bit so that they don't poke down straight into your shoulders. I think that's nice. And I'll plug it in here. So this is a single-ended connection with a kind of a more bare bones starting thing, but just to kind of give it a listen. And I'm going to start some music. What shall we do? How about music? Where's my music app? Oh, wow. Oh, storage is so expensive these days. When I got this iPad, I got the lowest storage model, and I can't seem to tell Apple to not install the Apple Intelligence, so it's got like 30 gigabytes of system files that take up almost all my space. Ooh, Jurassic Park 20th anniversary. You know what? That was one of the opening theme. Da na 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 na. Was one of the first songs that I was playing. I think in my second year of playing violin, really got me falling in love with that. Okay, so this connection all worked. We've got the horns. When the violin's coming softly, that's the potential tearjerker moment. I'm not promising I'm going to cry, I'm just saying. Little harp. Na 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 na. Okay, so unfortunately, listening to this through my microphone, compression, the coupling of the headphones, everything, all of those demos where they put them on a dummy head with microphone ears, don't base any opinions off of that. But delicate, rich, smooth, light, a very nice, just starting impressions, like out of the box. It's already sounding really good with the R2R DAC. And, oh man, I want to hear, I think that what I'm going to want to test out is something that has a little bit more harshness to it. A track, this was a really well recorded track, a really beautiful track. Highly recommend you go and listen to the Jurassic Park theme from Jurassic Park is the name of the song. And it's just a really nice orchestral piece. Obviously, like, you want to hear rap, go hear rap. But this is beautiful. Definitely recommend it. And it's handling it just a really smooth, nice rendition that doesn't feel, even for just like something right out of the box, it doesn't feel muddy. It's nice. Alright, so I can't wait to actually hear the Gremlin amp, but I have to wait to hear the actual Gremlin amp because I need to get the right connectors. You'd think with all the stuff I got going on here to have the right connectors. That was my bad, I guess. But it needs a 4.4 millimeter adapter, which, I like 4.4. It's small enough, let me show you, that it hardly looks any bigger than a regular 3.5 plug, right? But you might be able to see it's got 4 black lines, or it's got 5 different gold colored brass connection points. So that gives you ground, right positive, right negative, left positive, left negative. I'm not sure it's in that order, but it's small enough to not be this big honking huge plug like an XLR connector usually is. So you can use it portable, but then it also is balanced and robust and not going to break to use portably. So if you want to, or take it in like a pocket thing, like this has 2 holes. You know, you've got the jack for 3.5 millimeter, which is the smaller one, and just slightly bigger, you've got this. It still looks kind of like a regular headphone setup. You get basically balanced, and you can always adapt balance to single-ended if you have the right adapter connector, but you can't go single-ended into balanced or something like that. I don't know. When you look at like these Sennheisers or most any other headphone, the actual contact points on the headphone have a positive and a negative terminal for each ear, and then they sum it up at the end of the cable into single-ended. So you can do that, but if the amp, I need the XLR3 cable to connect the Gremlin. If I had an immediate first, like, oh, I wish kind of thing, and maybe it's a little extra, but I wish the Druid also had a 4.4 millimeter to 4.4 millimeter connection, because the Gremlin has that port, or the Gremlin had a single-ended option. But if it's pure balanced and you don't have like a phase inverter, like basically an adapter built into it, you have less components cost. You could put more of that build money towards quality. So to some extent, I appreciate that the Gremlin has a fully balanced design. However, either the Druid needs a 4.4 connector, or the Gremlin needs to add an option to connect single-ended, because right now there's a bit of a mismatch between the Druid's connections and the Gremlin's connections if you're going to have it as a unified setup. But obviously that is all solved if you just have XLR3 to XLR3 to XLR3. So that's the cable you would need if you wanted this setup. And I'm going to let that continue to burn in. We have, I don't know if you can see how much I want to do here, but you can see now that it's detecting the signal and playing music. We have lights on for power, PCM audio, pulse control modulation. But PCM is like standard signal, standard audio signal. And then there's a light on for link. So I guess it's saying, hey, I see the connection with the phone, I have power, and I'm seeing an audio signal. So that helps with troubleshooting if you ever have trouble hearing. See? So it's a good setup together if you have the right connectors. I'm really excited to hear it. But for now, that's going to be all. So look forward to seeing a separate video on specifically the, we're not going to finish yet, but a video separately on the Druid, where I'm going to just kind of let it work for a while and try it with my Cavalli, which I'm going to use as a reference amp between different things, and say, hey, how does it develop? How do I feel about it after I try something like Doja Cat? Sometimes her vocals seem a little sibilant to me, and the what was it, Space Child album? I don't know. I have a testing playlist of really good masters, and I think that Jurassic Park that came up is an example of a good track, a good test, but also I like to listen to poorly mastered stuff, because sometimes you like the song, right? And you're having fun with it, and you want to listen and not feel like you're dissecting the flaws and overanalyzing how it's not good, right? Can you listen to somewhat imperfect music? Because frankly, most of music is made to be heard in your car radio or on AirPods. AirPods Pro are better than we used to have. So I think that in general, digital audio and in-ear's popularity have helped raise the bar quality. But you got people who, like me and making this video, are trying to get stuff out, and if they have a exceptionally good recording quality, like if they're obsessed with that, it stands out. But a lot of music, pop music, compressed music, they applied their own EQ, they did their own work on it, and in manipulating the files, it's not that super amazing hi-fi sound. So I think it's important to test with not the world's greatest master and see how well you like it. Can you still enjoy yourself? And that typically is something that R2R DACs do well, and tube DACs do well, or tube amps, sorry, there is such a thing, but tube amp in this case. Please leave a comment about, hey, you know, I really want to see what kind of content you want to see. Like, hey, you know, I watched your video about the bags and why are you doing audio again, because the bag video randomly did way better with more views than my recent audio stuff. And then there's also, you know, leave a like to encourage me to keep going. Share it with friends who might be a little hi-fi curious. Help this channel grow. You will have a part of that too. And see what's up. As a last thing, inside this packing bubble, I got one more thing from Apos. And the tape reattached. My gosh, how long is this video? The sun's down. Thank you for sticking out this far. If you have come this far, you're a real one, and you get another preview of something to come up, which is, ooh, thermionic valve. So this is a new old stock, I think. This is a military grade Brimar. It is a CV4003 Amplitrex AT1000. Basically, Apos says these English tubes are compatible with the Gremlin, and they're selling them as their military grade best vault level tubes to use with their amp or any 12AU7 tube amp. And these are a matched pair at basically super high quality. And they're supposed to be already tested. There's even a mark that says low peak catting. Low reading. Oh, okay. I don't know. We'll have to see if there's a difference. They should be matched tubes though. So this should be a good new old stock sample. Military grade usually has higher standards, believe it or not. You know, they want to be able to hear stuff on their old tube-driven radios more clearly, and they're more resistant to microphonics, which I think is a really big deal. Like I mentioned earlier, that Empiric's Bugle Boy I had, you know, it wasn't just knocking the table, making it vibrate, causing a ringing sound to come through the tubes. It was just, it never completely settled down. There was always a mild ringing, and it drove me nuts. Switching to military grade tubes later, I got some Volkschad or Voskod. I always mix up the H and the S. Tubes from Russia that were military grade, completely silent background, completely got rid of microphonics. It was like I was using a solid state amp with the mellifluous, you know, the kind of melodic, rich, spacious, big sound that you get from tubes. So it was a really nice combo. I really want to try these out. I do want to first start with the Core Ray series and see what that's like. And to do all that, I'm going to need the right cable. Kind of the life of audio, right? You got to get the right cables. But this is exciting. And thank you for watching. I'm going to end it here. Have a great evening. Oh, let's see if I can stop it. Stop! An hour? Are you kidding me?